The rain fell incessantly on that November evening as a group of friends decided to confront the dark mystery of an abandoned restaurant, known in the area as the Cursed Place. Its reputation for being haunted by spectral presences had fueled their fantasies, and now they stood before the decaying facade with a challenging look in their eyes. The lights flickered faintly in the vestibule, casting sinister shadows on the creaky floor, and the silence was oppressive, broken only by the sound of the young explorer's footsteps. The restaurant had fallen into ruin, with tables covered in faded tablecloths, and paintings on the walls were crumbling. As they made their way down the main corridor, the doors slammed shut in the wind, sending shivers down their spines. The group headed towards the kitchen, the heart of the restaurant, drowned by a spine-chilling laughter echoing through the darkness. The kitchen door creaked open when they pushed it, revealing an eerie scene. A table was set with fine china, lit candles, and fresh food. But there was no one around. The restaurant seemed to have awakened something sinister hidden in the darkness. One of the young men, Max, ventured towards the set table, picked up a fork, and leaned in to examine a dish of creamy veal. As soon as the food touched his lips, he felt a cold gust of wind pass over his back. Turning around, he saw the fleeting image of a woman dressed in vintage clothing, with a pale face and vacant eyes that stared at him. The woman vanished into thin air, but her presence left an indelible mark on Max's mind. The friends screamed, and panic spread rapidly. They rushed to the door, but when they tried to open it, it remained stuck. Their only means of escape had been sealed by the restaurant itself, as if it wanted to keep them prisoners inside. In the darkness, they heard indistinct whispers and saw shadows moving among the tables. The furniture seemed to come to life, chairs moving on their own, and the floor creaking as something stirred beneath it. The friends found themselves in a terrible situation, trapped in an abandoned restaurant seemingly haunted by vengeful spirits. They decided to retreat to the main dining area, hoping that the ghosts would leave them in peace. But their presence was not welcome, and the spirit seemed angered. Chandeliers began to sway, candles lit themselves, and the set table began to shake. A chorus of incomprehensible voices filled the air, making it difficult to concentrate. The hours seemed to pass slowly as the friends struggled to overcome the fear that gripped them. Eventually, exhausted and terrified, they decided to end their nightmare. They managed to force open a window and fled into the street, leaving the abandoned restaurant behind. As they turned to look at the decaying facade, they saw the flickering lights vanish one by one, and silence returned. That restaurant would continue to guard its secrets and its unsettling presences, waiting for the next group of unfortunate adventurers ready to challenge its hidden horrors. On a cold and drizzly night, a young man named Thomas decided to treat himself to a solitary dinner at an elegant restaurant. He needed a break from his daily routine and thought a meal in a luxurious setting would be just what he needed. He arrived at the Le Délice restaurant with a glimmer of anticipation in his eyes, unaware of how his evening would soon turn into a nightmare. Once inside, the atmosphere was elegant and inviting. The restaurant was well lit with candles and soft lights, featuring impeccable tables and a jazz band playing in the background. Thomas was led to his table by an impeccable waiter with an impeccable smile, whose name was Henri. From the beginning, Henri appeared extremely friendly, perhaps a bit too much. He asked personal details that seemed out of place for a solo dinner, as if he wanted to get to know Thomas much more deeply than an ordinary waiter would. "Where do you work?" Henry inquired as he poured red wine into Thomas's glass. "Well, I'm a programmer," Thomas replied, smiling politely. "I work in software development." Henry seemed contemplative, as if he were trying to decipher something. "And what brought you here this evening, Thomas? Are there any particular reasons why you chose our restaurant?" Thomas felt uneasy. It was just a dinner. What was so strange about all this? However, when Henri continued to ask detailed questions about his life and habits, Thomas decided to draw the line. "I'm sorry, but I don't feel comfortable sharing further personal details," he stated firmly. Henry's smile transformed into a malevolent sneer. As you wish, Thomas, but you have no idea what you're missing. Without adding anything more, he turned and disappeared into the kitchen. Thomas was puzzled by that unusual reaction, but tried not to dwell on it too much. He continued his dinner, attempting to enjoy the exquisite food and the background music. However, as he dined, he noticed that the other restaurant patrons began whispering to each other. Their gazes were fixated on him, and he could feel the awkward heat of their curiosity. "That man over there has encountered the same disturbing waiter," whispered an elderly woman at the table next to his, her eyes filled with fear. Thomas froze. What was happening? Was this the reason Henri had been asking for personal information? Had he been the only one subjected to such unusual treatment? He attempted to ignore the whispers and finished his meal, but his unease grew as the evening progressed. He rose from his table and made his way to the exit, eager to leave. However, when he tried to open the front door, he was stunned. It was locked. He tried to force open a window, but to no avail. The doors and windows seemed to be sealed, trapping him inside with the disturbing waiter. Thomas was consumed by panic as he looked around, searching for an escape. It was then that he saw Henri emerging from the kitchen with a sinister smile. The waiter began to approach him with deliberate slowness, like a predator closing in on its prey. "You never asked what makes our restaurant so special, Thomas," Henri said with a malicious tone. Thomas gazed into Henri's eyes, now filled with terror. "What do you mean?" Henri grinned malevolently. "We are a unique restaurant, Thomas, a place where your fears become reality. We need your secrets, your deepest fears, to nourish us." Desperately, Thomas sought an escape, but Henri continued to approach, his eyes turning into empty black sockets. The other restaurant patrons surrounded them, whispering curses and nightmares. In an act of pure desperation, Thomas screamed, revealing his darkest secrets and deepest fears. In response, the restaurant began to tremble and collapse around him, while Henri and the other patrons dissolved into dark smoke. Chaos reigned, but finally, Thomas managed to escape through a broken window. As he exited the restaurant, he saw the building collapse upon itself, disappearing into the night. The restaurant and its disturbing waiter were gone, but the psychological scars of that night would haunt him for the rest of his life. He had discovered that some experiences were better left forgotten, even if the truth proved to be more unsettling than he could have ever imagined. On a dark and stormy night, a group of friends decided to experience a unique dinner at a luxury restaurant known as The Banquet. The restaurant's fame was legendary, as it was said that every dish served there was a culinary masterpiece. The promises of an all-you-can-eat buffet were enticing, and they couldn't wait to indulge in a variety of gourmet delights. But what should have been an unforgettable evening would turn into a culinary nightmare that would haunt them forever. As they entered the restaurant, their eyes were immediately captivated by the lavish decorations, sparkling lights, and tables set with silver candelabras. Waiters, dressed in elegant attire, led them to the buffet. It was a breathtaking sight. Dishes of every kind, from fresh sushi to succulent steaks, from Asian delicacies to decadent desserts. Their eyes gleamed with desire as they filled their plates with every imaginable type of food. However, as they sat down and began to eat, they noticed something strange. Despite eating ravenously, the plates remained full, as if the food magically replenished itself. This anomaly only fueled their hunger, and soon, they ate even more voraciously, unable to resist the temptation of trying every single dish. But soon, their initial enthusiasm turned into apprehension. One of their friends, Sarah, complained of a sharp pain in her abdomen, and her eyes took on a sinister shadow. Horrified, the others realized that things were taking an unsettling turn. Sarah began to slowly transform into a sort of monstrous creature, with writhing tentacles and vacant eyes. "What's happening?" John asked, trying to help Sarah, but her tentacles forcefully pushed him away, and she began crying black tears. The other friends attempted to escape, but the restaurant's door had been sealed by a mysterious force. Meanwhile, The other diners were also falling victim to the same horror. One by one, they began to transform into inhuman abominations, with distorted limbs, vacant eyes, and desperate screams. The buffet plates, once brimming with delights, had now turned into putrid, slimy, and foul-smelling meat, and the food now seemed like a distant memory of their gluttony. The restaurant had become a place of unimaginable horror, and the young friends were trapped in a culinary nightmare. The luxurious atmosphere had been replaced by desperate cries and tears. They had no choice but to seek an escape from this surreal nightmare. They knew they couldn't escape through the main door, so they decided to find another way out. As they explored the restaurant in search of an exit, they encountered increasingly terrifying creatures. They were forced to fight for their own survival against these creatures who had once been their friends. After a long search, they found an open window and managed to escape into the darkness of the night. Looking back, they saw the banquet restaurant vanish into the darkness, its appearance as a luxurious restaurant fading into the night like a mirage. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content.